The Decay of Depth, Nietzsche's ruthless dismantling of Freud and Jung. The modern mind, ever eager to flatter itself, has invented two great idols. Freud, the self-appointed archaeologist of the unconscious, and Jung, the mystic in a scholar's robe. These two prophets of decadence claim to have plumbed the depths of the human soul. But what have they truly uncovered? Freud, that surgeon of symptoms, reduces the grand struggle of existence to a child's fumbling for pleasure. Jung, the oracle of dreams, spins gossamer myths and calls them wisdom. Both drown in abstractions, mistaking their own fragile models for the raw, violent, will-driven reality of life itself. They despise the body, they leave their senses behind. They want to make the world believe that their spirit has fled to the pure heights. But they themselves are still in the swamp. Thus spoke Zarathustra. These are not men of the earth, of blood and steel. They are priests of shadows, forever probing the void, mistaking their own fevered imaginations for truth. 1. Freud, the pornographer of the mind. What is the great revelation of Freud? That all human striving, all creation, all ambition is nothing but the disguised whimper of repressed desire. The artist does not create, he merely sublimates his frustrated lust. The conqueror does not seek power, he compensates for childhood wounds. All psychology has hitherto remained hung upon moral prejudices and timidities. It has not dared to launch out into the depths. Beyond good and evil, Freud is no liberator. He is an undertaker, burying every great deed beneath a tombstone that reads, compulsion, repression, trauma. His is the psychology of the weak, of those who cannot endure the terror of life without reducing it to infantile squabbles and neuroses. His depth is nothing but a swamp, pulling men down into endless analysis, a circling drain of self-pity. He is not a philosopher, he is a pathologist, a diseased mind studying other diseased minds, mistaking illness for truth, weakness for revelation. Where is the will? Where is the fire? Nowhere. All he sees is the pathetic writhing of the subconscious, the endless repetition of Oedipal dramas. This is not psychology, this is an autopsy of the spirit, and like all morticians, Freud insists that all is dead. 2. Jung, the mystic with a library card. And what of Jung? Jung, the visionary, the depth psychologist, who builds grand cathedrals of symbols but never dares to step outside their stained glass illusions. If Freud is a gravedigger, Jung is a priest of fog, forever whispering of hidden archetypes, collective dreams, and cosmic forces that conveniently lack any test of strength, any demand for proof. They muddy their waters that they may appear deep. Thus spoke Zarathustra. What does Jung give the modern man? A doctrine of retreat. Instead of forging himself anew, he is told to submit to the great collective unconscious, to bow before ancestral patterns, to kneel before the shadows of long-dead myths. Jung resurrects the ghosts of religion and tells us they are our salvation. He weaves together symbols, alchemy, mysticism, everything except the here and now. Where is the power in Jung? Where is the commanding will? He offers only a labyrinth of symbols, a hall of mirrors reflecting nothing but the pale face of the past. The great task of life, the shaping of oneself, the mastery of one's instincts, the brutal assertion of one's own path, is abandoned. Instead, he urges man to search for hidden meanings, to decipher dreams like a trembling priest examining holy relics. This is not strength, this is weakness disguised as wisdom. This is decadence draped in mysticism. 3. Psychology as cowardice, the castration of the will. Both Freud and Jung flee from the obvious truth, that life is struggle and the strongest create their own meaning. Instead, they drown the human will in theories, in maps, in archetypes and traumas, in infantile excuses and religious fairy tales. It is no more than a moral prejudice that truth is worth more than appearance. Beyond good and evil, they do not strengthen men, they weaken them. They offer not war, not fire, not the joy of self-overcoming, but therapy. Freud wants man to kneel before his past. Jung wants him to kneel before his ancestors. Neither want him to stand, to act, to command. These are not thinkers. They are priests of retreat, selling men their own weakness and calling it wisdom. 4. The Nietzschean cure. Psychology as a weapon. Enough of this, enough of Freud's funeral procession of repression, enough of Jung's endless parade of ghosts. A psychology worthy of its name must be a hammer, not a crutch, a tool for overcoming, not explaining away. We can destroy only as creators, but let us not forget this either. It is enough to create new names, new estimations and probabilities in order to create in the long run new things. The gay science. True psychology does not analyze the past like a mortician. It forges the future. It does not trap men in their own childhood wounds. It arms them for war. It does not drown them in the myths of the dead. It forces them to create their own myths, their own values. Nietzsche gives us not a diagnosis, but a challenge. Who will you become? What will you create? Will you be a master of yourself or a slave to shadows? The past is gone. The collective unconscious is an excuse. The only question is, will you forge your own path, or will you drown in the stale dreams of dead men?